settled and getting into our groove. And I have someone to talk with me today. I dragged him in here. He must, I must admit that that I made Craig come and talk to me. Hello, Craig.
Hello, Lindsay.
So here we are.
I begged to come.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't drag him. He begged to talk because we're talking about actually a pretty exciting play. We have been doing features on our blog and on our site, and here and now we're going to do a little talkie about a really great, a really unique, a really striking, a really dangerous play called Clowns with Guns. And it's really interesting, Craig, isn't it? Because we have these postcards.
Mm-hmm. We put them on our table at conferences, and that's the first thing anyone ever wants to talk about is a play called Clowns with Guns. I think it's just it's a fantastic title. It really piques your interest.
Well, it's imagistic, right? You know, everybody knows clowns, guns, put them together. They're not supposed to go together. And then they read about it. And then there's always that reaction. A lot of times, sometimes it's said, sometimes it's not said. Oh, I could never do this. So we're going to talk about that in a sec, about that whole notion of plays you can't do. And it's really interesting being a publisher, having a play like that in our catalog, because it was really important that we include this play in our catalog, wasn't it?
It was one of those ones where you want it out there in the world so badly that you run the risk of it not being as produced as you'd like it to be. I mean, we sat down with the playwright before
Chris Evans. Hi, Chris.
And we had a chat about the script and how important it is that we think it should get out in the world, but also our concern that maybe not as many people will be able to do it as they would do like This Phone Will Explode at the Tone. Hairball. Yes, it's definitely a play that presents a lot of challenges in its content and its politics.
Well, let me read this to you. This is the warning that Chris wrote for us to put in the play. This is a mean play. It attacks an audience and doesn't quit. Watering down the mean and brutal parts. When we say clowns with guns, we mean clowns with guns. It is a play about school shootings and school violence and the seemingly endless loop of shootings and school violence, and that nothing. We all get very sad about it, but then nothing happens, and then there's another one. And so he's talking about how watering down the mean and brutal parts will only make your production watered down. The message is clear and mean, and it's supposed to be. And be aware of your school situation, right? And this is that's the first thing I say to people when I talk about Clowns with Guns is that it is mean. It is purposefully mean, and there are guns and clowns shoot them. And that it is it's a really absurd look through the lens of vaudeville and that whole tonal quality of vaudeville and then the violence that happens. It seems almost every day that it's happening. Well, that is the reason that because when we got the play, we love the play, and it's the discussion we have to have with every play that comes across our desk. Is will it be produced? Will there be productions? Because that's kind of our job. Our job is to get these plays out there. Not only just out there, not only just put them in a catalog. We don't want our plays to sit in catalogs. We want them to be produced.
No, and from a business perspective, we want to represent the playwrights the best we can. And, there's been many occasions where we've gotten scripts in that we thought were good, but we didn't think we'd sell, or that they would be better served in a different market. We're so specific with high schools and middle schools.
I say that quite often too to playwrights. Like, you would really be served in a college market or a community theater market, very narrow.
Yeah, and we have customers in those markets, but they're not a focus of ours, and we don't specifically market to them. So that's why we that's why we turn some stuff down, even though we think it's really good. But this one, I think, was, since it's about schools, we really felt that we wanted it to have a place in the world. And
we wanted it to have home.
Yeah.
And I believe that the Orlando shootings happened right in the midst of us having this conversation, and we went, all right, Chris, we're going to publish this.
Yes, that's right. We were hemming and hawing, and it was the nightclub shooting? Was that when?
See, you know what? Because I know
there was a big shooting event. Yeah, right when we were trying to make a decision, and we just went, all right, darn it, we're doing it. I know
that Chris wrote his intro to the play in the aftermath of the Orlando shootings.
Okay, that must have been the timing there. Yeah,
and
I forgot that part. And
it is. We take a great responsibility in the plays that go into our catalog, particularly being in education. There is a lot of value in students just being in a play. That's something we've come to learn, and it's very interesting because quite often I get criticism and criticized for the fluffy nature of some of my work. Except I know the truth. I know the truth that being in a play, that's the important thing. So that's why we're really open to when people ask for changes, and sometimes it's like, we need to do a gender, hey, I can't say this word. It's like, you know what? The important part is that a play goes on, and students get on stage, and students communicate, students collaborate, and students have fun, have a community. They have a place to go. So that's one part of the job that we do. And then the second part of the job that we do is we really want issues theatricalized. And we never consider ourselves the solver of problems, but the openers of discussion.
Mm-hmm. And there's the one type of play we'll never publish is one that comes as a didactic, like, monologue. It's just one big statement on a theme.
I'm a bully, but now I understand, yes. And I'll never do it again.
Yes, and I wouldn't publish something like that because it's not inherently theatrical. The difference has to be that there has to be a difference between an essay and a short story and a play. Those are all completely different things, and we're always very specific that when we publish a play, it has to be a play. It has to be theatrical. It can't just be something written in dialogue format. It has to have an inherent theatrical quality, and that's this script only lives on the stage. It's not a short story or a novel. It's a piece of theater. Nor
is it a lecture or an essay. It is theater. So that's the first thing that I would say is that not the first thing. It's one of 17 million things I'm saying.
I haven't been keeping track, but it's not the first thing you've said.
Excellent. I'm so glad someone's keeping track. Someone should keep track. If you want to do a piece, you want to challenge your actors. B, you want to give them a very specific style, a very specific tone, a very specific oeuvre to experiment within, experiment and issue within. This is so a great play just because it exists on other levels other than the issue. So there's the style of it, the piece of it, the form of it. Then there's also the issue that's being addressed, and addressing it in this very vaudevillian way. Our characters are MC. And then the characters themselves are types. So it's like, how do we take a type and turn it into through a vaudeville lens? It's just, there's so much to talk about in terms of the style of the piece, the characters in the piece, and how they represent the issue of the piece. And then it's really important to, and this is probably a discussion that all teachers are having all day, all the time, is I can't do that. There's no way my administration would let me do that.
Well, and that happened to the very playwright of this play. His administration wouldn't let him do the play. He had to. Did he? You know what? Did it in a different location?
No, you know what? It was a little more. It was a little more nailed down than that. Is that Chris chose not to premiere the play at his school because there had been a student suicide the spring before. So, but he went to talk to his principal about it, and his principal was not happy. His principal did not did not like the play. But here's the great big thing that that we have these discussions quite a lot with people who are saying, my administration says this, my administration that says that, and it's like, have you had the conversation with your administration, right? And did you have the conversation with your administration before you decided to do the play? Because that's really, how do you put on a play that your administration doesn't like? Don't surprise them. Don't put them in a position of surprise, because they're the ones who have to deal with the parents. Right? So if you're all of a sudden doing something in your school or in your classroom, and a kid goes home and tells his parents, where everybody's shooting each other in class, and then the principal gets a phone call and they have no idea what's coming, then you put them in a very difficult position. And that's really the most important thing, is that not only to be very open with administration, but to be very open with parents. When Chris was doing this show, he had an open door policy to his rehearsals, right? So, hey, Chris is here, he's watching, excellent. We had a difficult time trying to get Chris on, but we're here, Chris. We are representing you. We represent Clowns with Guns, and so, hey, Chris, you got any questions? We can answer them. And he had an open policy for his rehearsals, so that, and he had an open dialogue with his parents. And he was like, I told the cast, talk to your parents. Have your parents read the script. My door was open during every rehearsal. I invited anyone who wanted to monitor the progress to play to come and watch. Parents came to rehearsal. Don't make this production a surprise. And that, I think, that's the number one thing when you're doing a play which your administration might not like: no surprises. And then I think the second one is that whatever your administration says, you kind of have to go with, right? Mm-hmm. If they say no,
it's a no.
It's a no. But it's the kind of thing where maybe it's a growing thing, right? Like if you have an administration and it's their first year and you come and say, I want to do the play that has all the bad words and all the all the controversial issues, and all of the things and all of the time periods where people did things wrong, and they don't know you, it's probably going to be a no, isn't it?
No, yeah, it's probably something best done with the kind of the lobster in the hot water system. Just this year you take 3 inches this way. Next year you take another 3 inches, and every year just and establish that bond of trust with your administration, that when they give you the leeway, you are not going to abuse it. You're going to be respectful of the material, you're going to be respectful of the kids, and you're going to be respectful of your community. And the more you can do that, the more leeway you can get from your admin.
And Chris is right in there. He's jumping in. He's made a comment that, yes. So here's the other thing when you're talking to your administration. Where's the lesson, right? If you're doing an issue, if you're doing something of controversy, where's the curriculum tie-in? Where's the cross-curricular tie-in? What is being taught? Because it's at the end of the day, this is all education. There has to be an educational element of some value in this thing that you're attempting to put on.
So with a play like this, you have all sorts of stylistic things to learn as a cast. You have all sorts of physical staging,
the physicality of character,
clown.
Absurdity, satire.
There's all sorts of wonderful things to learn through producing this play. So that's another great angle to go at too. Is that, yes, this is pushing some boundaries, but it's also going to help grow our students as performers.
Hey, here's another question. I'm studying to be a theater teacher. What are some musicals that would be a no-go? You know what, Jack? You need to find that out from whatever. That is a very specific question. I have been to, I know for a theater teacher who just recently put on Rent at his school, and that was fine. He had administration blessing. It, as from his perspective, it was a great production. And then when he was discussing this in a format we had, teacher after teacher after teacher said, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do Rent, I couldn't do that, I couldn't do Rent. It's all about the communication, and it's all about, I think that it is the spectrum in which you're putting your piece on. We've had discussions with teachers who have said that they can't have they can't even have kids kiss or touch, right? And
so it really runs the answer to that question really runs the gamut of what the situation in your school is. You know, there's some schools who are never going to do anything more than a Disney Junior musical, and then there's some that are doing envelope pushing, challenging stuff. There's schools putting on Heathers right now, the musical. There's schools putting on Avenue Q, and those are school editions, but they're still pretty. I know there was a teacher somewhere who got fired for putting on Rent.
Yeah. And it is it's a very interesting thing. Chris presents this really great question that I think that this is the question. This really is the question of putting on a play that your administration doesn't like. Should high school theater teachers, should high school theater be activist? So what is the point of the play that you're putting on, right? And there's lots of points. There's lots of places you can come from. Like, I know teachers who, I can think of a very specific experience in Florida where they had been through 2 hurricanes, and the point of the play that they were putting on was to give them something to do and to place to go so they didn't have to think of their situation. That, I think, that I couldn't be more proud to be a part of a situation like that. And I'm always surprised, actually, about schools that I think are going to only choose lighter, fluffier pieces and have gone for the heavier stuff. We have a great number of Catholic schools here in Ontario that I've been to, and I don't know why. It's my own poor assumption that I would assume that they would want to do something conservative. And I've seen them stretch the envelope in really amazing and wonderful ways. I've seen, I get to go to adjudicate a student, I believe they're all student written shows, and student written shows are always tending toward whether it is the farcical elements that sometimes boys like to do, or they're always seeming to be activist. They have something to say, you know, and then that brings up a really interesting question about where's the censorship in student material, right? Are we supposed to be letting them express and what's going on inside of them that desires a play, which I think it's so important for them to get out. But then what if they are writing things that are against school policy? You know, where is the teacher role in that?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Student written stuff tends to push the envelope much more than we can, even as publishers, about things that we can put out in the world. And yeah, and kids always really want to just push form. They want to push their issues, and it's just really fascinating to see what comes from them, and then what is allowed to come from someone else.
Yeah, it's well, we always have more rules, don't we? As when we're writing stuff, when I'm writing stuff, I always have more rules that I have to consider than maybe a student does. But that leads us quite nicely. I'm going to roll this right back to Clowns with Guns, and we're going to wrap this up. The other thing that's really important to us as publishers, and as I have my writer hat on too, is to have that. Where's our line? And with every play that we've got, and it's easy with mine because I'm right here, and you can say, "Hey, can we cut this line?" And I can go, "Sure." What's the line in each and every play where the process is more important than the product. And by that I mean, if the process of putting on the play is really important, then I'm usually a lot more flexible. And a lot of our authors know the situation, and we've really wonderful authors who really get what we're doing. And they are also really quite flexible when it comes to the process. And so they want the play to be put on. But occasionally there are scripts where it is intensely important that the play is done as the play must be done as the play is written, because of what it's trying to say. Mm-hmm. I have a play called Power Play, which has some strong language, and it's got a gun, and somebody shoots that gun at another person. And I have a big thing in there that says, if this cannot happen in your school, you should choose another play. And Clowns with Guns is kind of like that too. We really stand behind this play that it must be performed as written. It must be performed. It must be as because of what it presents.
Well, I think a play like Power Play or a play like Clowns with Guns, if you're not going to go all out with it, there's no point in doing it. And I think I think generally that's true of just about all plays. If you're not going for it, what are you doing? But especially with these plays that are really pushing some envelopes and really asking a lot of the audience, it's not something you can be shy with or back away from. Otherwise, really, I don't understand why you would do a challenging piece of material and then try and back off, because what's the point of even select what about that material attracted you enough to want to perform it for an audience? And then why do you not want to take that as far as you can?
So as we end up,
and that's true, like even like Midsummer Night's Dream, if you're not going for it in the comedy scenes or whatever scene, why are you doing it? So and I think that's, and so especially these plays that are there and they are pushing issues and envelopes, that's what they are about. And so I think that's not your goal. I'm not saying, I think it's fine not to do those plays, but to do them and not go all in. Choose another play. We have lots of plays.
We got lots. We can recommend lots. And Chris wants to make it known that, and actually with Clowns with Guns, there's only one live gunshot, and it's off stage. See, it's interesting. See, that's the other thing too. We have lots of people who pick up plays and they read the title and they go, "Oh, well, we can't do that." In fact, I recently had a conversation with a teacher who gave a play to her administration. An administrator did not even read the play. She only read the title and said, "No, this is what you're dealing with. We know what you're dealing with. We know."
Is that Suicide Note?
Yeah. We know what you're dealing with. And that's why, we're here to have conversations, and we're also here to say that what do you want your role to be? Do you want to be activist? What do you want your conversation to be with your audience? And it might be you just want to make them laugh. That's ACES. It might be that you want your material that you do to say something. You want your students to say something. That's also ACES. And you just want to make sure that whatever it is that whatever play you're picking up and you want to put that out there, put out into the world, that if it's something that is a bit of a challenge, if it's something that your administration might not like, to really follow through. You can't half it. You have to go all in with your conversations with your admin and your parents. You have to go all in with what's on the page. You can't back away from what's on the page. And I understand there's lots of situations where teachers are being told these days to back away from what's on the page. But maybe there's another way. Maybe there's another way. All right. We've been here. We've been chatting. Chris, thank you for joining us in the chat room. I'm so glad we got you in there. We got you in there. Preach. Yes.
Okay. And you want to check out Clowns with Guns. What is all this hubbub that we're talking about?
Yes.
In the description of this video, there's a link that'll bring you right to that page on our website, and you can read almost all the play for free online. So you can get a good look at what the script's all about and what it is that we're talking about, because we were kind of vague the whole time, and I don't think we really described what happens in the course of the play. But I think
you're just gonna have to go read it.
I think that's best, right? And actually, it's what I love about this play is a great read. Like, it's one of those when you read it, you really picture, you have really vivid images in your head. Not all plays are like that, and that's not even a good or bad thing. But this is a great one to go flip through and read right now.
Right now.
Link in the description.
You should go because we're going to stop talking.